Ever wonder what humans did before work was even a concept? Like, before 9 to 5s, before agriculture, before bosses? What did our ancestors do all day? Hunting, gathering, sharpening rocks? Turns out they had a lot more free time than you'd think. For nearly 95% of human history, from Homo habilis to most of Homo sapiens, work, as we know it, didn't exist. Crazy, right? Forget grinding. Our ancient ancestors were, by some accounts, the original affluent society. Seriously, they were loaded with leisure. This idea, called the original affluent society, was popularized by anthropologist Marshall Solins. He flipped our modern views on their head. He argued that hunter-gatherers weren't constantly struggling. They met their needs efficiently, then kicked back. Imagine that. How much time did they spend? Working. Estimates vary, but many put it at only about 3 to 5 hours a day for subsistence. That's less time than many of us spend at a desk. The rest was for socializing, crafting, storytelling, and just being. So what did a typical day look like for UG? First, find breakfast. No grocery stores, obviously. This required skill, not toil. Maybe a morning hunt for small game, or gathering tasty roots and berries. Quick, efficient, and often collaborative. Teamwork makes the dream work. Their diet was incredibly diverse. Whatever nature provided, they ate. Far healthier than our monoculture diets, probably. After the morning's foraging or hunt, they'd return to camp. What then? Not punching a clock, that's for sure. Midday heat often meant downtime. Napping, chatting, grooming. Social bonding was a crucial part of survival and well-being. They were expert storytellers. Oral traditions passed down knowledge, myths, and history. Imagine the epic tales around the campfire. Music and dance were central too. Rituals, celebrations, expressing emotions. They weren't just surviving. They were living vibrant cultural lives. What about tools? They needed to make spears, scrapers, hand axes. Was this work? Not like a factory. No, tool-making was often a meditative, skill-based activity, passed down through generations. A craft, not a chore. Very different vibe. They didn't hoard possessions. Why carry a bunch of stuff if you're always on the move? A nomadic lifestyle encouraged minimalism. Everyone had roles, but they weren't rigid. Everyone contributed to survival, often with flexibility based on age, skill, or need. There was also plenty of time for art. Think about the incredible cave paintings of Lascaux or Altamira. These weren't just doodles. These complex artworks, often in deep, hard-to-reach caves, suggest significant leisure time and cultural sophistication, not exactly a quick lunch break project. What else? Spiritual practices. They gazed at stars, pondered existence, probably told myths about constellations. They were curious, just like us. They buried their dead with care, sometimes with grave goods. This implies a belief system, respect, and time for ceremony, not hurried. This egalitarian way of life, with minimal hierarchy, lasted for hundreds of thousands of years. It worked really well for them. But then something shifted. Around 10,000 BCE, everything changed. The agricultural revolution hit, and it changed everything. Why did we give up the easy life? Climate change played a role. The end of the last ice age brought new opportunities, but also pressures. Populations grew, more mouths to feed. Hunter-gathering could only support so many people in one place. Necessity is the mother of hard work, so we started domesticating plants and animals. Wheat, barley, goats, sheep. Sounds efficient, right? More food, but farming was a trap. You suddenly needed to clear land, plant seeds, wait, water, harvest, store. It was a constant, back-breaking cycle. Historians call it the worst mistake in the history of the human race. Yeah, that bad. They actually worked more, not less. Monoculture farming led to less diverse diets. If one crop failed, everyone starved. Hunter-gatherers just moved on to something else. Living in permanent settlements meant waste built up. Sanitation was, well, non-existent. Hello, disease. Close contact with domesticated animals brought new pathogens. More people, more germs. A perfect storm for sickness. Skeletal remains from agricultural societies show more signs of malnutrition, disease, and hard physical labor than their hunter-gatherer ancestors. And hierarchy emerged. Someone had to manage the fields, store the surplus, distribute resources. Power consolidated. Not so egalitarian anymore. Suddenly, you had pious, rich, and poor. Those who controlled the land and food, and those who worked it. The concept of owning land became a thing. Wars over land and resources became more common. Hunter-gatherers could just pack up and leave. Farmers were literally rooted to the spot. But wait, what about impressive structures like Göbekli Tepe? This massive stone temple predates agriculture, built by hunter-gatherers. It challenges the idea that complex societies only arose after farming. These folks built monumental structures without needing to farm. This suggests that shared spiritual or community goals could motivate large-scale efforts, not just economic necessity or work as we know it. So the invention of work wasn't this great leap forward for personal freedom or leisure. It was kind of a step backward, actually. The Industrial Revolution just supercharged the whole thing. Factories, long hours, specialized jobs. The work ethic became paramount. But what if we've forgotten something fundamental? What if the hunter-gatherer lifestyle held clues to a different, possibly better, way of living? Think about it. Minimal possessions, strong community bonds, deep connection to nature, abundant leisure time. Sounds kind of appealing, no? We traded diverse diets for farming risks, communal living for social stratification, and leisure for, well, productivity. Of course, we can't just go back to hunting mammoths. Times have changed. The world has changed. But we can learn from them. We could question our obsession with constant growth and endless work. What's the true cost of our progress? Maybe a little less hustle culture and a little more chill and craft a spear point culture? Just a thought from UG. So the next time you're stuck in traffic or slogging through another spreadsheet, spare a thought for UG and his ancestors. They had a different idea of what it meant to live a good life. One where work wasn't the main event. Before agriculture, before permanent settlements, humans were nomadic, moving with the seasons, following game, finding ripe plants. Their territories were often vast, providing diverse resources. They understood their environment intimately, living in balance with it. The idea of property, beyond personal tools or temporary shelters, was largely foreign. Everything was shared, or belonged to all. What about shelters? They used caves, rock overhangs, or build temporary huts from branches and animal hides. Simple, effective, and mobile. These structures required minimal effort to build and abandon. No mortgages, no rent, no property taxes. Just move when you need to. Did they have leaders? Yes, but usually situational. A skilled hunter for a hunt. A wise elder for advice, not permanent bosses. Decisions were often made communally. Consensus building was key. Everyone had a voice. Imagine a staff meeting like that. Their lifespan was shorter, yes, but often due to infant mortality and accidents, not necessarily constant hardship or starvation. If they survived childhood, hunter-gatherers could live long, healthy lives, often into their 60s or 70s. Not bad for primitive folks. Archaeological evidence, like robust skeletal remains, shows they were often physically strong and agile, without signs of constant overexertion. What about specialized knowledge? They knew everything about their local plants, animals, and weather patterns. Essential for survival. This knowledge was passed down orally, through observation and direct experience. It was practical and applied, not theoretical. Was there conflict? Yes, humans are humans, but small scale, often resolved, without the large armies and sieges of later eras. They had a profound connection to the spiritual world. Animism, reverence for animals, spirits of places. It infused every aspect of life. This wasn't religion in a formal sense, but a worldview where everything was interconnected and alive. Respect for all beings. They developed complex communication long before written language. Gestures, vocalizations, body language. Rich, nuanced interactions. The development of sophisticated language was a massive advantage. It allowed for planning, teaching, and complex social organization. So while their lives were simple, they weren't simplistic. They were deeply complex, rich with culture, meaning, and connection. The shift to agriculture wasn't uniform. Some groups adopted it, others resisted, continuing their hunter-gatherer ways for millennia. Some environments simply weren't suitable for farming, forcing groups to adapt or stick to their traditional nomadic ways. The idea of progress is often framed as a straight line from primitive to advanced. But history is far more nuanced, more circular. What if we've been running on a treadmill of increasing work for thousands of years without realizing what we left behind? Maybe the secret to a happier, more balanced life isn't about working harder, but understanding our ancient past a little better. To be clear, ancient life wasn't a utopia. It had its dangers: wild animals, harsh weather, injuries without modern medicine. But the absence of constant, soul-crushing labor gave them a freedom we can only dream of sometimes. Something to ponder. So the next time someone says, idle hands are the devil's playthings, remind them that for most of human history, idle hands were just hands. Hands that crafted, painted, danced, played, communicated, and connected. Not constantly typing, swiping, or clocking in. What does this mean for our future? Can we reclaim some of that ancient balance? Or are we destined to just keep working? It's a big question, bigger than UG can answer alone. But it's worth thinking about. our ancestors certainly had it figured out differently. Perhaps the pursuit of leisure isn't laziness, but a fundamental human need that got lost somewhere along the path of progress. So, what will you do with your precious limited free time today? Maybe go for a walk in nature, or try to craft something with your hands, or just spend time with your tribe, sharing stories, laughter, and connection, just like Yuji and his friends did thousands of years ago. Because maybe, just maybe, the original human operating system had a lot more play built into it than we remember. And perhaps we should listen to that ancient voice telling us to slow down, look around, and enjoy being human. It's a pretty good gig. What do you think our ancient ancestors teach us about modern work? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear them. And if you enjoyed this journey back in time, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more mind-blowing history secrets. Yuji the Unburdened will be back with more wild tales from the past. Stay curious, stay unburdened.